Evan Mobley is always a interesting topic when it comes to Cavs fans because he's kind of this mystery box of a player for a lot of people where you hear a lot about Evan Mobley. And usually in basketball, the players that you hear a lot about are going to be the leading scorer of your team. And I think if Evan Mobley were on a worse team, if this team did not have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and the scoring threats that they have galore on this team, then we might be talking about Evan Mobley being the leading scorer on the team. But even then, the way Evan Mobley gets points isn't necessarily the most impressive way of getting points for most fans, because a lot of people are accustomed to people shooting threes and making all these difficult layups. And Evan's work, it's kind of like, hey, he's going to get a couple dunks here close to the basket, some pick and roll pops, some jumpers here and there, but it's not going to look like the effort to get 30 that like maybe a Paul George or Donovan Mitchell get you, where you can see them have to make really tough shots on a consistent basis. Evan's size in his position doesn't allow him to do that. But it's also brought us to this interesting place because a lot of people say a lot of different things about Evan Mobley. Some people think he should be more developed as an offensive player by now. Some people look at him, see the potential, and say he's Kevin Garnett, or he's Tim Duncan or something like that. But then there's other people who look at him and they just don't see those things with him. And I think maybe that's because we've been focusing on comps for him that we might have used coming out the draft when we didn't have much data on what his play style would be in the NBA. But now that he's been in the league for a little while, there's a better comp out there. And I think it's been one that's been sitting in front of us for a while now that we just haven't really picked up. So what is that comp? Who does Evan Mobley compare to? And why do I think Evan Mobley compares to this player? Well, we'll talk about that. But before I do that, I want to take time to talk about today's sponsor, DraftKings. The NFL regular season has just wrapped up, which can only mean one thing. It's playoff time. Starting on January 14th, 14 of the best teams will contend against each other in hopes of getting to Super Bowl 57, which is always exciting. But if you're like me and your favorite team is not in the playoffs, then make the playoffs even more fun by adding some spice to it, which is why I'm teaming up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All new customers have to do is sign up for DraftKings using my promo code CavsBurner. Bet at least $5 on any NFL playoff game, and you'll instantly receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. Again, bet $5, just at least $5 on any NFL playoff game, and you'll instantly receive an additional $200 in bonus bets. Yep, that's right. New customers bet just $5 on any NFL game of their choosing, and they'll instantly receive $200 in bonus bets deposited into your account. Wondering what you could use the $200 in bonus bets on? Out same game parlays where you can combine multiple bets from one game, like which team will win and how much for a shot for even bigger winnings. If mobile sports betting is not available in your state, don't worry. You can get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code CavsBurner. Again, it's promo code CavsBurner. Again, promo code CavsBurner, and bet $5 on any NFL playoff game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code CavsBurner only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I want to thank DraftKings for sponsoring this video. Again, make sure you use promo code CavsBurner and when you sign up for the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Now, what would make me feel like Evan Mobley? Now, again, back to the conversation, right? Because you hear, oh, he's KG or he's Tim Duncan. I think people compare him to Tim Duncan, not based on anything that he does on the court, but because of his demeanor. And he kind of like low-key resembles Tim Duncan a little bit, like in the face, because they have like goatees. But I don't think he plays like Tim Duncan. People say Kevin Garnett. when you say Kevin Garnett, that's a whole different level of athleticism that we're talking about than Evan Mobley, or some people even jump to like Giannis, right? But again, Giannis, whole different level of athleticism. So who is a 6'10" power forward / center that's come into the league, that was really skinny when they came into the league, but has since bulked up, that resembles Evan Mobley's game? And then it hit me right in the face. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, if you look at early videos and you look at the early games of Anthony Davis, he gets his buckets in the same ways that Evan Mobley does. Now, Anthony, I think he averaged 13 points his first year and then 20 his second year. And you might look at me, Quincy, hey, look, Anthony Davis already was at 20 points by his second year. Evan Mobley is still at 16 points. Well, I would say Anthony Davis took 15 shots a game in his second year. That's what he averaged. Evan Mobley averages about 11 field goals a game. So 3 less shots. Obviously, Evan Mobley takes less shots because he's on a better team. So there's not as many shots as available to him because most of the shots go to Darius and Donovan. And then also you got to have shots for Jared Allen too. And the usage rate isn't the same. And I think Anthony Davis was actually carrying much more of a load on a bad New Orleans team than Evan Mobley is on a very good Cavs team. And what is also, I think, interesting about this comp, and when I bring it up, is if you look at the nights where Evan Mobley has had to carry more of an offensive load, right? Let's go to the games where Evan Mobley has averaged 15 shot attempts. If we go to those games, they look like this, right? So these are his most field goal attempts. These are the games where he's had over 15 field goals attempted in a game. And you'll see he had 38 recently, 26 on 18 shots, 20 on 15, 20 on 15, 18 on 15. Now, if you average that, that's going to be much higher than 20 because he has a 38-point game in there. And I'm not saying like, oh, if he had 15 shots a game, he would average 25 or 35 or whatever that number would come out to. But what I am going to say is it seems to happen that he gets over 20 points or at 20 points when he has about 15 attempts. That doesn't mean that the Cavs need to make sure that he gets 15 attempts because Darius Garland is much more efficient scoring the basketball. Donovan Mitchell is much more efficient scoring the basketball, and you want to be able to share the ball around. Maybe there's an argument to kind of have more things flow around him because, again, there are some promising things there, right? Like the total rebound numbers are interesting with him. 9, 8, 3 in that one game against Orlando, but then jumps to 13, 15. The assist numbers are always high for a big, right? 3-1, 3-4, 3. And that's one of the things he has an edge over with Anthony Davis. And I think the more and more we see of Evan Mobley, the more and more this thing is looking like a mixture of, and this is best case scenario. I think best case scenario, he develops into what is ultimately a mixture between Anthony Davis and Jokic, right? I think he's going to have some of the same strengths and weaknesses that Anthony Davis has in his games, right? Anthony Davis is an athletic big who could run the fast break, who could do the fast break, do all the stuff, athletic enough to get downhill, athletic enough to get a lot of points in the paint and take over a game. And I think eventually Evan does become that. But one of the things Anthony Davis does have that I think Evan will also have that's not necessarily a great trait is the streakiness when they're shooting jump shots, right? Like Anthony Davis, notoriously streaky jump shot shooter. I think Evan Mobley will be around that same vein. Now, one of the areas also where they differ, where there's 2 other areas where they differ, and I think these are in good and bad directions, right? When it comes to facilitation, Evan Mobley is a much better passer of the basketball than Anthony Davis. But there's a catch to that. Because in order for the Cavs to want to run the offense through Evan Mobley, in order for the Cavs to feel comfortable giving Evan Mobley more attempts and more responsibility in the offense when it comes to how it gets ran through, Evans really got to do something about his turnover percentage. He is at a 14.2% turnover percentage. I think Anthony Davis at that time in his career was at 8. So he's almost double what a second-year Anthony Davis was. And again, Anthony Davis was an axe to do some of the difficult stuff, like, some of the pick-and-roll ball handling, some of the fast break stuff early in his career, like Evan is. But it's still a bad number, right? That's the one thing. People who are naysayers to Evan, the one thing that they really have on that is, hey, he does fumble the ball a lot, right? Like, for whatever reason, he turns the ball over a lot. And that has to be handled, right? That's going to be the one thing that limits his potential. If he's able to get that turnover number down under 10 and the Cavs can run the offense through him and he just gets over whatever issues he has holding on to the ball, then he's going to become a top player in this league, right? Similar to how Jokic and Anthony Davis are top players in this league, right? Big men who can facilitate and score and be top level defensive players. Evan Mobley's defensive rating is at 108. That's higher than a young Anthony Davis. Like, he's a better defender than a young Anthony Davis from the perimeter. He's not the shot blocker of Anthony Davis, but he's not that far off from the shot blocker that Anthony Davis is. And again, he shares shot blocking responsibilities with Jared Allen. And since the Cavs have those twin towers in there, not a lot of teams really try. So the block shots aren't going to be there because the number of attempts aren't going to be there from other teams to get those opportunities to block shots. So the numbers aren't everything here, but you combine numbers with what you see and what you feel when you watch these two players at similar points in their career, and you really see where Evan is extremely similar to Anthony Davis and to some respects Jokic. Now Jokic is kind of harder to see the similarities because they don't play similar at all. They just kind of both can facilitate and they're big. But Anthony Davis, a young Anthony Davis, you can really see the similarities in the game that both of them have. And I think that's going to be interesting going forward. If he cuts this turnover stuff down in the next few years, he will be one of the better players in the league. He'll probably average, even with limited shot attempts, he'll probably average 20, 10. And I think he could probably, like, at his peak on this team, right? If he's still sharing shots with Donovan, Darius, and everybody else, his peak stat line will be a very efficient 20 to 22, probably 8-9 rebounds, and then probably 4 or 5 assists a game. So you get like 22, maybe I'll say 21.5, and then 8 and 8, or 8 and 5. And that's what you'll get out of Evan Mobley. If you're getting that out of Evan Mobley, plus the 15 that you're probably going to get out of Jared Allen, plus the 25 that you're getting out of Darius Garland, plus the 30 that you're getting from Donovan Mitchell, you can see that's a lot of points. That is a lot of offense right there for your Cavs team. And that's what a championship roster would eventually look like. But again, in order for Evan to get to that point to where he has that freedom in the offense to score that much, he has to do something about the turnovers. That's going to be the limiter for him. Can he figure out this turnover stuff, or will this be something that limits his potential for the rest of his career? He can be Anthony Davis and Jokic on one end of this, and on the other end, he'll be a really, really good center. You know what I mean? He would drop, if he can't get the turnover stuff handled, he would go from being in that tier of Anthony Davis and the Jokic potential-wise to being like a DeAndre Ayton, which is a good player. In borderline, you pay that player, but you would much rather have that caliber of player. So that's the crossroads I think Evan Mobley's at. And we'll see as the years develop. And I do mean years. Like, I don't expect him to overnight become prime AD in the bubble or anything like that. But as the years develop, we will see what happens with him. But I think good things are ahead for Evan Mobley. So that's just a thought I had. Want to share it with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But y'all have a great day. Have a good night.